Hi, this is Jim Benson from Personal Kanban and Modus Institute, and Toni and I are bringing you another episode of Kanbanology. This week we have a wonderful conversation with two longtime personal Kanban practitioners in Atlanta, Georgia. And so, Sameer, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you came to Personal Kanban and what you guys are doing with it?
Thank you, Jim, Toni, and for having me. I'm Sameer Bendre, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I work with a company called OutSystems as an engagement manager, and I've been an Agile practitioner since around nearly a decade now, and stumbled on Personal Kanban through my involvement in Agile community. So I've been Agile community of practice volunteer on the board. And have been involved in a lot of communities in Scrum and Agile in Atlanta, not only locally, but globally. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, I did stumble upon your book through a wonderful friend, Derek Huter, and through whom I understood about Personal Kanban.
Meghana? This is Meghana Bendre. I'm Sameer's wife. We're both based out of Atlanta. I am a software developer by profession. I write software for online banking and mobile banking applications. And I started using Personal Kanban because of Sameer. And the way that we started using it is quite an interesting story. It was 4 years ago, and I had just had a major surgery, and I was supposed to be taking rest for 6 weeks. And the first 2 or 3 of those weeks, I wasn't allowed to step out of the house. Well, we lived in an apartment at the time on the 3rd floor of the apartment, so stepping out would mean climbing down 3 flights of stairs and climbing up 3 flights of stairs, which was a big deal right after the surgery. So I would be at home, and I would feel like I'm not doing anything, which I'm not used to because I work, I go out, I'm do my own things. So if I'm at home and not doing anything, it kind of started driving me nuts, and I started passing it on to Sameer, and so every day I would tell him that, you know what, I'm just sitting around, I'm not doing anything, I'm going crazy. And so one day he came up with this. He just put up a board, one of those the big papers up there. He made 3 yes, the chart paper. He made 3 lanes on it. It said ready, whip, done. I had no idea what he was doing. And then he brought like a pack of stickies, and then he asked me, okay, go through your day, tell me what you did today. And it would be like really simple stuff. I watered some plants today, and then he would make a sticky for that and put that on the board. And okay, I repotted a plant today, make a sticky for that, put that on the board. I did some laundry, make a sticky, put that on the board. And then towards the end of the week, I saw what he was doing, and I saw that, I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. I am actually doing stuff. It was little things around the house, but I was doing things. And it really helped me recover from the surgery, from the illness, and it gave me such a boost that it was, I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. I am really doing things. And he showed that. And another thing that he did was he would go over the stickies in the done column, and then we would talk about it. He would go, okay, so how did this make you feel? So if it was something like potting plants or watering plants, I would be very happy about it, and I'd say, oh, I really liked it, and he would put a little smiley next to it. And if it was something like I paid 3 bills today, it would be like, yeah, well, you have to do it because you have to do it. Doesn't feel so great, but well, it's something that it's just, well, you just do it. And so then we would have, these little conversations, and then again that would, we started seeing a pattern that, of course, there are some things that you really like doing, and that makes you feel good, and then some things you don't much care about it, but you have to do it. And that was my introduction to Personal Kanban, and we've been at it since.
Yeah, as Meghna said, Jim, we started with a list, but the list was driving us nuts. And that's where, at that moment, I had actually bought your book and I was going through the personal Kanban book, specifically your and Toni and story. And that helped me, let's try this. Visualize. So we actually started with visualizing the work done and slowly moved towards visualizing the work that needs to be done.
Right. So I think, and the other big thing that we realized was the difference that it had against maintaining a list, because I would always maintain a list of things to do because, well, you're an organized person, right? That's what you do. So I have 20 things on my list, and by day 2 or day 3, I have only, finished 4 or 5 of them, and I still have 15 things left on my list. So it still feels like, oh, what have I been doing? I still have so much to do. As against when you put a sticky out there and you move the sticky across the board, you know that you are actually physically doing something. You are contributing towards. Yes, this thing is done. This thing is moving. So it has a different effect on you than just crossing out something that's on a list.
Right.
I'm not sure how else to say that. It's just it's just the effect that it has on you. It is, I guess, it's much more positive than just striking something off a list.
Well, because I think it's when you have items on a list, you don't have context, you don't know what your options are if you pull this ticket, or if you. So when you are visualizing your work on a Kanban, you can see what your options are. You could see what work is coming up. You could see the trade-offs.
Yes.
On a list, you're optimizing for, okay, how many things can I cross off of it? On a Kanban, you're optimizing for what are the most important tasks I need.
I also think that in your first case, you already knew that you'd watered plants and done laundry, but when you envisioned them in your head as things in a to-do list, they were almost inconsequential. They were little tiny words. Let's say, like, laundry is a very small word. But if you write it on a Post-it note, all of a sudden, that Post-it note has dimension. And it adds a little bit of importance to the thing that you did, because what you were doing wasn't really watering plants or doing the laundry. It was you were healing. You were slowly but surely becoming more of what you were before the surgery. And so seeing the more tickets meant you were becoming the more, I don't know, you.
No, exactly. And the way you just put it, that putting it on a sticky gives it dimension, because and the sticky takes up space on your board, and that is exactly what you spend time doing it. And just writing it on a list and striking it off the list doesn't reflect the time that you spend on it. So somehow, just putting it on a sticky and putting the sticky physically on a board makes it real.
Okay. To add to it, Jim, Meghana, and Toni, and specifically things like laundry and watering plants probably never made to the list, because those are everyday rituals.
Right.
That work was being done, but not acknowledged.
Never seen, yes.
Never seen, never visualized. And that was not the case. In our professional lives, we do the same thing. There are a lot of stuff that we keep doing and thinking, did I do anything today? But if you just validate by putting it on a sticky and sharing it with the team for everybody, means if I can show you, I have something to share on the screen.
Okay.
Let's go to Google. Screen share. Entire screen.
There we go.
Okay.
It's me.
There you are.
Okay. So in here, on this specific case, there were a lot of items that we were doing. This is a simple Kanban for a team that we created. But the problem was, this was in the list. All these things were actually in a highly what do you call it? One of the tools, quality tracking or something kind of a tool that but that was not getting visible at all specifically to the team. They were working on it. They did not have the value stream, and it was just people were picking stuff, and every time we opened that view in the software, we would only see bunch of things not done. So I translated it to that, saying that I will take the responsibility of putting it on the board. Then we validate, we actually created the whole value stream of it, and after that we were able to see that, okay, we are really moving, or hey, we are not actually working too much on validating stuff because validation pile is getting piled up. So I started to introduce the benefit of this in any organization that I went to. Okay. So this is one example of what I brought to one engagement. If we keep going to that, at a point in the life, we were staying away from each other for a few years. So I was on consulting and gigs, and the physical board did not actually suffice for us. So we started using LeanKit. And we've been, this is, if I'm still sharing the screen, this is our board.
You're not sharing the screen.
No, you're not.
Okay. So I'll share the screen now. There I go again. Okay, so we started using a virtual board. Okay. And first it was simple with the ready whip done part, but then along the line, if you can see, we actually refined our value stream slowly. We went to goals. These are the main ones: planned categories. What are things that are ready? What's for today in process? Specifically, things that are in pending. Any unplanned stuff that came through which we did not think of, and moving specific things means everything used to move and done, but there were items which we actually never got a chance to talk about. So we added another thing saying that, you know what, we will only move them to done once we've had a retrospective. So we have added the retrospective column, and after that we wanted to find out a repetitive columns, so that's where we created a separate item or a mini lanes where we are doing the regular repetitive items here.
I love the fact that you have retrospective built into your value stream prior to doing it. So it's showing that continuous improvement really part of every task that you consider doing.
Yep. And to be frank, means we are on an app. Means when we are doing this stuff, we are browsing through. When we are seriously practicing it, there are phases where we just drop the ball on it.
Totally.
Yeah,
yes, very much. And that is also something I wanted to add. There's a disclaimer to this. I mean, yes, we do have a wonderful board out there, and we do have a lot of swim lanes added to it, but we don't always keep it up to date. So we've tried both the physical board, we've tried this LeanKit. We know that they both work. Again, I also have a board that we use at home.
Yep.
We still do that, and I think I still prefer the physical stickies to the virtual board. But and I also ended up creating one for myself, just for myself at my work, at my desk. So the way that we run our projects at work, we use version 1 for our tasks and our day-to-day work organization. But even though we have a lot of details in our stories and we have a lot of tasks called out, there is still some stuff that doesn't get called out, and then we still end up doing that, and we still end up spending time on that. And so I started doing that for myself because if you look at my stories in version 1, when I'm only working on 2 stories this sprint, but I'm still busy all day. So what is it that I'm doing? And if that's what someone asks me, I point them to, well, here's my board. This is everything that I am doing. And then at one point there were like 5 things in my whip. And so when somebody would come and talk to me, well, I would just point them to the board, like, no room, I can't do it right now. And so, that I'm not making up stuff that, I can't do it. I'm not giving you just an excuse. There it is right there for you to see.
Right. So quite often we feel like, or we interpret work that needs to be done by what we feel isn't being done yet. And so we'll very easily lose track of both planned and especially unplanned tasks. And for a lot of business processes, all of the focus is on planned work. But oddly enough, you do have to do the other stuff or the business will close. I mean, it's not frivolous stuff. I don't think that your board is basically, play Xbox, shop for baseball caps, and that there's like really things to do.
But there's value in tracking the unplanned work. See where that work is coming from at the end of the week. Because the board may show you, this is repeating every week. It's not that unplanned. So maybe you should factor that into your workflow, that type of work. Before I forget, we had spoken a little bit offline about how you introduced personal Kanban to, I think it was your brother. Would you like to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. It was, again, around the same time that, we started using personal Kanban as a family. And because of my surgery, our family was here, and we had, my mother was visiting, and my brother was here too. And my brother has a learning disability. So he was a slow learner in school, and he is also an epilepsy patient. So when we started doing the board for me, we just decided, we were talking out loud, and we were like, okay, why don't we do it for him? And that gives him something to do. That gives him, well,
actually not. If I can correct there a little.
Yes, please.
So Jim and Toni and Meghana has grown up with him, and she knows him best. But when we talk about not only Kanban, it's all about empathy, learning, and all that stuff. So Meghana and I have had. So Meghana will always challenge me. At times, I'm really impatient, and I fail to be an agile practitioner and bring those things, and just be a human. And more than a decade after, I still struggle bonding with him, or trying to understand why is he not able to do simple stuff. At that point, we discussed that, what, it's not his problem. He's doing his best. Why don't you, as a normal person, visualize what he's doing? And that actually idea was brought by Meghana too, and we married those two ideas, and that let me visualize that, okay, he's doing this stuff, and it not only helped me bond, but it also helped him speak to it, because at the end of the day, we would make him talk about how did you feel, and we found a pattern of things what he likes to do.
What kind of work did you put on the board, or what type of tasks did you put on his board? Did you track?
Something, again, we started off with, some things that were really simple. So because he was around, he would help me. So we would put something like that, he did something to help me. So we would put that on there. And he had also brought some of his study books with him. So we would, put like a task for maybe you did math today, maybe you did English today, and that helped him see that he is doing stuff, and it helped him in his confidence that I'm here halfway across from home, half the world across from home, and I'm not just sitting here doing nothing.
Reading, writing, even when he did his own laundry, or he would basically set up the table for dinner, he would go out with his mom for getting groceries, all those stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful. Did he keep doing it when he got home?
Unfortunately, no.
Ah.
Yeah, well, like me, he's probably consistent at being inconsistent.
So one of the things I wanted to say about, like, when you're talking about falling off the wagon, basically, where you were really good at it for a while and then we're kind of not really good at it, is that one of the most important things about being mindful at all is that we understand when we're not being mindful. So simply knowing that you've fallen off the wagon is still unbelievably huge, right? It's a lot different than just, like, I don't know, just ignoring that you were doing it to begin with and not feeling anything about it and then moving away. Well, I would assume that when you approach the board and the board isn't up to date, that you're kind of that you have an emotional reaction to that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, very much. And so again, the board that we have at home right now, it's right now in that phase where it's not very well updated. But we know the stuff that's on it, and we were just talking about it last night, and we said, okay, you know why that stuff is not getting done? Because it's too big. Because there's a sticky on it that says clean out electronics. Clean out all the electronics, and that's too big because, well, there's electronic stuff in the bedroom, there's electronic stuff here, there's some in the basement. We haven't called it out. Where do you want to clean it from?
Mm-hmm.
So let's break it down. Let's make it real.
Yep.
Because it's not going to move until we know, which one we are going to work on. Because you know what, I'll clean out the stuff that's in my bedroom, but then the sticky is still going to stay there.
And that's demotivating when you don't see any progress on your board. A lot of people will say to us, how do I know how big to size a task? And what we suggest is always make sure you've got some type of cadence on your board. You've got flow. You're pulling tickets at a regular pace. Jim and I always joke about this. Is when we were writing the book, we had this sticky note in doing called Write Book. And we recognize we probably should break that task down, so that we can see the momentum of these tasks going into done. We can get that dopamine burst when we're finished, that motivational, hey, I want to pull another ticket because I want to optimize for that other dopamine release. So yeah, just always make sure that you're seeing momentum on your board.
Very much.
So one of the hardest things about these short interviews is that they are both wonderful and short. So that does bring us to the close for this interview. Meghana, Sameer, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. And until next time, I'm Jim, and down there in the corner is Toni Ann, and we'll see you next time.